Hello, this is Father Bill. We're here at St. Callistus again. I want to talk about our saint of the week. That's St. Philip Neri. That's N-E-R-I. And he was born 1515 in Florence, Italy, and he died around 1595 or so. But as a young boy, he was fairly intelligent, good guy, so the family had him go with other family members. I think it was a place called San Germano, that also in Italy, and learn and take over family business. But after about 2 years, he lost interest. He didn't want to be a businessman. So then he goes to Rome, and he becomes a tutor for some friends that were from Florence, his hometown, and he tutors their children. And then he has this mystical experience, I believe when he's about 18, and he said that was a big conversion of his life. So then he goes to Rome, and at age 20, this is around 1535, he decides he's called to study theology. So he goes in to start studying theology. But one of the issues for him was there was a lot of corruption in Rome, a lot of clericalism, and so it seems like he just backed off because of that stuff. So after 3 years, he left the theology studies, and he went out into the streets. He just started. His goal was to evangelize people, to bring people to know Christ. And he realized that God told him, Rome's kind of corrupt. They need you to evangelize Rome. So he's doing all these kind of things and having great success. Some say it was like the first youth groups. He loved poetry, music. He had time for, they said, before dawn until after sunset, he would be gathering with different groups, talking with people, sharing the gospel message, and he had time for all the poor people. And that was his goal after he left theology studies. I'm going out to minister to the poor and also try to get Rome back on the right track with God. So he's doing that, and he has another powerful mystical experience where he feels like the fire of the Holy Spirit goes right into him. And after that, he had this kind of lump over his heart. His chest kind of expanded a little bit. Didn't cause him any pain, but he was always kind of warm. And they said even in the coldest winters in Rome, he'd be sweating because he was on fire with the Holy Spirit. And he was hot all the time. But at any rate, he has that experience, and finally he's convinced to go into back into study for the priesthood around 1545, somewhere around there. So I think he gets ordained a priest 1551, so he's 36 years old. He goes out and continues the same work of working with the poor and also trying to evangelize the clergy and other people in Rome that are important, are powerful. He was friends with St. Charles Borromeo. These are contemporaries. St. Ignatius Loyola, who founded the Jesuits, who was from the Basque Country, Spain, but he ended up going to Rome for the last part of his life. So St. Philip Neri is friends with St. Ignatius Loyola, St. Charles Borromeo, Pope Pius V, who brought about a lot of the reforms that the Mass we had for like 400 years until the mid-1960s. So he's friends with these people. He had this great sense of humor, good cheer, humor, and that served him well when he gathered these groups together to pray, to celebrate, to sing. He had this great, wonderful sense of humor. And he didn't try to change Rome by chastising or make people feel good. He did it with good cheer and good attitudes and trying to bring people back to the goodness of God's love. He was kind of a joker, and some of the things he did. One thing was he had this uncle, I believe, was a cardinal. So the uncle was trying to get him to, be in the clergy power structure. So the uncle sends him. One of the ways you let people know you're going to sponsor them and help them be powerful, you send him some symbol of the power of the church. So he sent the red hat. In other words, the hat the cardinals wear. He sent one of these to his nephew, Charles Borromeo, to say, I can make you a cardinal if you come in and play ball with us, in the hierarchy of the church. So what did St. Philip Neri do with this? He took it out in the street and used it kind of like a soccer ball. And they had this street game kind of like soccer with the kids. So that's what he used it for. So it's kind of his way of saying, I'm not taking that seriously. He wasn't interested in the power in the church, interested in loving, evangelizing, sharing with people. Another thing he did was rather humorous. He had a very nice beard, so people would say, oh, you have a wonderful looking beard. And he was giving a talk for the Pope and all these cardinals. So what he did, just to show his humility and make a joke, he cut off half the beard and left the other half. So when you were looking at him one way, you saw him with a beard on. You looked the other side, no beard. Now most people, if you're going to give a talk before the Pope, you're not going to do something goofy like that, but he didn't care. You know, he was like, I'm here about the evangelizing people, the love of God. I'm not worried about who I impress or whatever. So great saint. He founded this oratory, which was where he said, we're not going to, it was kind of an order, but it wasn't really an order. He said, we're not going to have a whole bunch of rules, but we're going to pray together and share, music and prayer and time together. And that's what he was doing with all the poor people and the clergy. He was reaching out to all these people. So he founded the oratory, which now I think they have, do some college campus ministry. Cardinal Newman, who just became a saint, he was in the oratory in, I think it was Birmingham, England. So St. Philip Neri, great saint, great sense of humor, and he was on fire with God's love. And he went into Rome, of all places, and was evangelizing Rome. So he's known as the Apostle of Rome. He reminds us of sharing, taking time to listen. This is how we bring the gospel to people, not ordering people around or trying to change them too directly, but we listen. He listened to the poor and all kinds of people and spent time with them and celebrated with them. So this is what we're called to do in our liturgies, in our families, in time we spend together at different activities, to listen to others and to show that love and care and concern that really builds them up and helps them be attracted to the message of God, which is you are loved and you are very special, and I call you to a life of service and goodness and love. So hopefully we imitate St. Philip Neri.